Look closely at the vehicles lining any corporate headquarters, and you will notice a bizarre paradox that separates the truly wealthy from those who are simply projecting an image.
Consider Jason, who rolls into his assigned workspace at precisely 8:47 every single morning behind the wheel of a glistening, midnight, black luxury SUV.
He secured this lease less than a year ago, locking himself into a steep monthly obligation of $839 for the next 3 years.
He deliberately selects the most prominent parking space right beside the main glass entrance, not to save himself a short walk, but to guarantee his vehicle remains completely visible from the
elevated glass boardroom where executives gather for weekly strategic briefings. Jason is employed in the company's brand strategy department, bringing home a steady annual salary of $94,000.
Whenever corporate prospects tour the facility, he volunteers to guide them out to the lobby, consciously steering their path past the windows so they catch a glimpse of his ride.
To Jason, this imported machine is not a practical tool for commuting. It is a rolling statement of status forged from high, and engineering and financed by a crushing debt load he can scarcely
manage. Meanwhile, Elena arrives at the far edge of that exact same lot every day at 8:22 a.m.
Her daily driver is a silver sedan manufactured in 2020, which she acquired 3 years back by handing over a single lump sum of $22,400 in hard cash.
There is a noticeable scratch along the lower side panel that she chose to leave completely untouched, recognizing that a minor cosmic blemish has absolutely no impact on mechanical reliability.
Elena works deep within the same organization as Jason, serving as the Senior Director of Operational Efficiency with a declared salary of $112,000 per annum. Yet their balance sheets look like they belong to entirely different species.
Jason's entire financial net worth sits at a precarious $17,000, weighed down heavily by outstanding credit card balances, his massive automotive lease liability, a high-interest personal signature
Loan from an exotic getaway he took last summer, and a modest retirement fund holding just $8,200 because he only allocates a bare minimum of 2% from his paycheck.
Eleanor's verified net worth stands firm at $1 million. One individual successfully projects the illusion of deep pockets, while the other possesses actual generational wealth.
They share the same roof during the day, navigate the same organizational chart, and bring home earnings within the same broad economic tier.
The Grand Canyon separating their material lives is built entirely from decades of small, opposing choices, and the single most revealing indicator is parked outside on the asphalt right now.
One individual prioritized superficial prestige, while the other focused on aggressive capital accumulation.
That initial transportation choice marked the exact moment their financial paths diverged forever.
This breakdown uncovers the precise reasons why the most affluent citizens in our country systematically, almost without exception, drive unassuming vehicles that would completely shock the
uninitiated observer.
This pattern persists not because they lack the purchasing power to acquire ultra-premium models, but because their core philosophy regarding money is so utterly irreconcilable with standard
Consumer behavior that their vehicle becomes the ultimate physical manifestation of the exact mindset that generated their prosperity in the first place.
Let us dive directly into the cold, hard numbers. Let us break down the exact mathematical reality of this scenario, because when you look at the raw numbers, the contrast becomes incredibly stark.
Jason decides to lease his luxury German SUV for a steep $839 per month. Over the course of his 36-month contract, he will hand over a grand total of $32,104 to the finance company.
When that term expires, he walks away with absolutely zero equity.
He hands back the keys and immediately signs another costly lease agreement because the psychological thought of reverting to an ordinary car feels like an unbearable social demotion.
He will likely repeat this exact behavior for roughly 30 years of his active professional career, maintaining an average outflow of $800 every single month for an asset he will never truly possess.
Alina, on the other hand, purchased a reliable mid-size sedan for $22,400 using upfront cash. She intends to operate that vehicle for a full 8 years.
Her total aggregate cost of vehicle ownership, when you factor in routine mechanical maintenance, lower insurance premiums, and the original purchase price, safely averages out to roughly $330 a month.
Across her entire duration of use, at the conclusion of that 8-year period, the vehicle remains perfectly functional. She alienates the asset for a residual value of $9,000, reallocates that capital toward another high quality used model priced at $23,000, and effortlessly repeats the exact same mechanical loop.
The real-time monthly differential between Jason's luxury approach and Alina's pragmatic strategy is roughly $500.
If you take that exact $500 monthly difference and consistently funnel it into an index fund, yielding a conservative 8% average annual compound return over a standard 30-year professional
career, that single recurring gap balloons into approximately $745,000. Let that specific figure sit in your mind for a moment. $745,000.
That is not an idealized spreadsheet fantasy. It is the absolute mathematical inevitability of the delta between a premium car payment and a modest transportation strategy compounded across a
working lifetime. It represents the defining line between entering your golden years with absolute autonomy or entering them plagued by constant financial dread.
It is the literal difference between achieving complete financial liberation at age 60 or remaining entirely dependent on a paycheck until age 75, all because of the machine parked in your driveway that you selected to impress individuals you do not even like. Alina's impressive $1 million net worth was not the product of an exotic hedge fund strategy or an unexpected family windfall. An overwhelming 88% of modern millionaires achieve their wealthy status completely from scratch, a fact validated by the comprehensive national study of millionaires conducted by major financial research institutes. Alina is a perfect living embodiment of this data. She accumulated her wealth by intentionally expanding the margin between what she takes in and what she puts out.
And the driveway is precisely where she defends the most significant portion of that financial margin.
Her deliberate vehicle strategy alone is directly responsible for roughly $600,000 of her total aggregate net worth, accounting for over half of her entire financial empire from a single structural decision made decades ago and simply replicated every 8 years. The underlying research highlights that 94% of wealthy individuals consistently choose to live significantly below their maximum economic means.
Merely 31% of them averaged a 6-figure salary over the course of their careers, and an amazing 1/3 of these millionaires never crossed the $100,000 single-year income threshold at any point in their working lives.
The top 5 most common career paths for these quiet millionaires were identified as engineers, certified public accountants, school teachers, mid-level managers, and practicing attorneys.
School teachers, individuals who are culturally stereotyped as being chronically undercompensated, were appearing on verified millionaire rosters with greater historical frequency than high-end
Orthopedic surgeons or elite technology executives. Why does this happen?
Because your specific professional title never dictates your ultimate financial destination. Your savings margin does, and the automobile is precisely where the vast majority of citizens completely
Obliterate that margin.
While this breakdown does not constitute formal personal financial advice, it is vital to recognize why the automobile specifically, out of every possible household budget line item, serves as the
ultimate dividing line, separating wealthy households from the rest of society more distinctly than almost anything else.
Sarah Stanley Fallaw, the lead investigator for the Affluent Market Institute, systematically studied over 600 contemporary millionaires to compile her extensive text, The Next Millionaire Next Door.
Her research confirmed that intentional frugality remains the absolute chief characteristic of self-made wealthy households.
Her most impactful conclusion from that data matches this car dilemma perfectly. Overextending your lifestyle, consuming your capital today instead of preserving it for future autonomy and spending.
Cash and visual anticipation of eventually becoming wealthy effectively chains you to a permanent dependency on your next paycheck, regardless of how impressive your current salary might look to the
public. That exact phrase, spending in visual anticipation of wealth, captures the essence of Jason's mistake.
He operates the luxury SUV because he believes he is on a trajectory toward prosperity, and he views the premium vehicle as a necessary preview of the life he is constructing.
Unfortunately, the car itself is the precise mechanism preventing that life from ever materializing.
Every single block of $839 that gets wired to the leasing corporation is $839 that is barred from entering his retirement accounts, his investment portfolios, or his real estate holdings.
He is frantically rehearsing a wealthy future, while systematically sabotaging the actual foundation required to build it.
The flashy trailer has completely consumed the budget for the feature film.
Let us directly address the most common cognitive objection that instantly arises whenever this topic is presented, because I can hear the defensive thoughts forming right now, but I absolutely require a reliable vehicle. A cheap alternative will constantly break down, leaving me stranded and costing far more in emergency mechanical bills. You ultimately get exactly what you pay for.
Let us completely dismantle this myth using empirical consumer data.
Independent reliability indices consistently demonstrate that mainstream manufacturers like Toyota, Honda, and Mazda routinely dominate the top spots for long-term mechanical durability.
These are the identical practical brands that the data shows millionaires choose to own.
A high-quality 2020 midsize sedan, which can be easily sourced in the open market right now for somewhere between $18,000 and $22,000, depending on the specific trim package and mileage history, will
comfortably and safely transport you for 200 0 miles or more with nothing but standard, routine oil changes and fluid maintenance.
A compact sedan from the same vintage costs even less and delivers identical mechanical longevity. These are absolutely not rusty, high-risk gambles. They are exceptionally engineered machines built to outlast the longest financing terms available.
The argument that practical vehicles are a mechanical trap only holds water if you are purchasing a $3,000 vehicle with a mystery history and 150 0 miles already on the clock.
Without an inspection, nobody is advocating for that. Because we exist within a consumer culture that completely conflates high spending with structural success, the signal sent by a brand new luxury import is, this individual is highly successful.
The signal projected by a modest 2020 practical sedan is, once you successfully move the primary boulder out of the way, all the tiny pebbles naturally begin to realign.
This level of systemic awareness changes absolutely everything.
The automobile is merely one specific manifestation of a structural trap that lies in wait at every major milestone of your economic life.
During your 20s, that trap frequently takes the form of massive student loan obligations or moving into a premium apartment that completely stretches your monthly budget to its absolute limit.
In your 30s, the trap morphs into the dual combination of the bloated car note and the oversized residential mortgage, the two massive decisions that effectively lock your household fixed expenses at
an elevated ceiling for decades.
In your 40s, the trap manifests as lifestyle entrenchment, a high-spending baseline that feels completely impossible to scale back because it has become deeply woven into your social identity and who
you are.
In your 50s, the trap is the sudden, terrifying realization that your working years are rapidly drawing to a close, and the exponential compounding curve required another 20 years of runway that
you already consumed. Every single age bracket features its own specialized version of this structural mistake.
The automobile note is the defining trap of your 30s. The oversized house is the anchor of your 40s.
Chronically undersaving is the crisis of your 50s.
The individuals who successfully construct true financial freedom are those who possess the foresight to study each trap long before they arrived at its perimeter.
They understood precisely what lay ahead on the path. They exhaustively studied the economic map.
They deeply mastered the specific financial decisions at each critical juncture of life that ultimately separate the individuals who cross into retirement with absolute security from those who cross
Into it terrified.
If you want to dive deeper into this framework and learn how to navigate the upcoming pitfalls, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Winds of Thought, where we break down the hidden
mechanics of money.
That level of deep strategic understanding is never an innate trait you are simply born with. It is an active capacity you build systematically, one core financial concept at a time.
True financial literacy is the comprehensive mastery of how capital actually flows across the decades of your existence.
It is understanding how consistent compound interest transforms a modest $500 monthly allocation into a $1 million empire.
It is understanding how a car payment that appears perfectly manageable to your monthly budget at age 30 silently extracts over $900,000 from your net worth by the time you hit
age 60.
It is recognizing that every single spending choice you execute always carries two entirely distinct price tags: the nominal price you pay today and the massive, hidden price you forfeit and lost.
Compound growth over the many decades that follow.
The self-made millionaires who willingly choose to drive $30,000 cars are not merely keeping a little extra cash in their bank accounts. They are actively implementing a unified
philosophy that influences every single corner of their material existence. They have mastered the numbers.
They clearly recognize the structural traps.
They deeply understand that every distinct era of life presents a specific financial crossroads that will either fortify the decade that follows or systematically undermine it.
Eleanor fully mastered this rule when she was a 26-year-old professional. Jason remains completely blind to it at age 34.
The ultimate divide separating their realities is not a function of their baseline incomes, their natural talents, or cosmic good luck.
It is a fundamental difference in strategic awareness. Eleanor maintained a vivid, lifelong awareness of what that vehicle choice would cost her across her entire existence.
Jason only maintains an awareness of what his badge looks like in the corporate parking lot this morning.
One of those viewpoints constructs an extraordinary life of true freedom. The other constructs nothing but a temporary, expensive impression.
Select your path with extreme care, because the corporate parking lot completely forgets your vehicle the exact microsecond you pull away into traffic, but your investment account will vividly
remember every single dollar you gave it or denied it for the remainder of your days on this earth.